Gang, if you're like a sober, curious 20-year-old, or you want to quit drinking in your 20s, or you're thinking about it, I want to talk to you. I want to tell you what's up because that was me. I was 20. I was like, I need to stop drinking. This stuff's causing me problems, holding me back in life, messed up my relationships. So I needed to stop drinking. But I could also talk to another person. If you are in your early 20s or you're like in any stage in life and you need a reset, there's a system that you can exploit. And I'm going to tell you what it is because I did it. I did it because I needed to do it, but you might not need to do it and can still benefit from it. So if you're somebody who's like stuck in the suburbs or just stuck somewhere, you don't have a car, you have no resources, you're homeless or about to be homeless, go to rehab, okay? Go to rehab in a city. Maybe you already live in a city, maybe you live in a suburb, and there's no transportation, you can't walk to get a job, you're like stuck at your aunt's house in a basement, and you're like watching YouTube videos, and you're like, what the fuck am I gonna do with my life? Been there, get it, not so fun, okay? But what you can do is, you can go to rehab, dude. You can, if you have insurance, great, call up the insurance, be like, hey, look, I can't stop freaking drinking and getting high. It's ruining my life. Help me out. You can do that, okay? Or if you don't have insurance, there's all these state programs, even freaking Salvation Army, you know? There's one in every state, in all the big cities. Plug into one of those places. Live in a freaking homeless shelter in a big city. Get a job, in this city. Just like get out of that environment, okay? Get a job in the city, being a freaking busboy, stack your money, get into a three-quarter way, a sober living house, slightly elevated, all right? And if you're like me, get a sales job, all right? If you're not like me, clean yourself up, save your money, buy some nice clothes, get a job as like a property manager, you know what I mean? At an apartment complex. Start working your way up there, okay? This is a system that you can exploit, treatment center in a city or Salvation Army or some of these like faith-based homeless shelter programs. You can use this program, you can get out of your old environment and kind of like reestablish yourself in a place that has more going on. And the thing is that these communities, they have like a lot of accountability, so they can kind of like take you and like raise you up a little bit. This is what I did. I was in Alabama, Pelham, Alabama. I went down to Miami, Florida for treatment. I went from like a super poor 22-year-old with a drinking problem, and it hasn't been easy, but I did the treatment program, sober living house, and I felt like my life was going to be over. That was like my fear, but it has been anything but that. It's been quite the opposite. My life began after I stopped drinking and I got out of Alabama and moved to Miami. And like, check it out, Look at that. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. Everything's fine. Things are going well, okay? I'm a dime a dozen too, you know what I mean? Like, this is just what happens, You leave the bad environment, you move to a new place with more energy, you cut the drinking out and you just focus. You're like, okay, I had like a bad patch in the past, I'm gonna stop drinking, especially for men, who like, I don't know. I can only speak about it because I am a man, but essentially I feel like for men, it's like, you have more expectations to like, more pressure, I feel like, to say like, and maybe it's the same for women, I totally don't know, but for men, it's at least like, dude, you better have a plan, you better start making some money, you better be somebody, or at least by your mid-20s, be on the path to becoming someone. And in my early 20s, I was not on that path, okay? So that's a great reason to stop drinking, even if you don't have like an alcohol problem, cut out the booze, so that you can focus, even if it's just temporary. But I know like Gen Z is way more sober curious now. That's cool, you know, spiritual reasons. They don't want to be like inebriated. They don't want to like get posted on social media with their face like blackout on the concrete or like making out with a homeless guy. Whatever their reasons are, I'm just here to tell you like it's all good. You know what I mean? It was hard at the beginning for me, but I got a career, got into sales, got a car, made a bunch of friends that were also sober, super ambitious, and they have become like my lifeline and my network. I've made money, got a passport, started traveling. I'm able to help out my family, and like the relationships that I have are way more deep, way more meaningful, way more fulfilling. Those relationships that I've made in sobriety, and or just from not even calling it sobriety, but just from not drinking and being able to be more clear-headed and actually being intentional about the friendships that I do have, the relationships that I have. I'm able to like choose and cultivate rather than be like just drinking and kind of making buddies, but like a week later, like he hooks up with my girlfriend. You know what I mean? I thought we were brothers. You fucking hooked up with my girlfriend. How could you? You know what I mean? That doesn't really happen when you are not drinking. Like you're able, I mean, maybe it happens, but I think that remove the alcohol, you're able to be a little bit more systematic about the relationships that you choose to have. And yeah, it's been all good, man. You know, quit drinking, you move to a city, you get plugged into like a community, maybe you join a gym, you know what I mean? You just get super fit, you know, next to your freaking homeless shelter, there's a gym, you get in there, you get fit, you start making contacts with the other people around the gym. You're like, hey, let's go to the park this Sunday, let's go to the beach, wherever you're at. You start making these connections. One piece of advice I'll say, if you're like breaking into a new community and you're like, oh, I don't know how I'm gonna make friends, be useful to them. Find a way that like you can be helpful to the people around you, and you know, that's how you start to build your status capital, is by being useful, being of service to the people around you. You do that, and they're, you know, whatever it is, like be an ear to listen to them, or be like, oh yeah, someone's like, oh yeah man, I got some yard work this weekend, you know, I gotta do that. But hey, look, you need some help? I'll help you. You know what I mean? Like, oh, my dying grandma is in the hospital. I need somebody to go rub her feet. I'm that guy. I'm gonna go rub your grandma's feet. That dude is gonna love you forever. You know what I mean? Y'all are boys for life, okay? Be of service to people. So what do we got? Freaking go to rehab, live in a freaking halfway house or a homeless shelter, get a decent job, entry-level sales if you can talk to people. That's what I did. Property management, something like that. Clean yourself up, decent clothes, start working out, make some friends, be of service to other people, and start thinking, what do I want to do with my life? Okay? You can't really think about that when you're drinking, if you're like me, you know what I mean? Or if you're sober curious, at least, like if you don't have a problem with alcohol, you just want to stop drinking. Once you do that, you can really think, who am I going to be? What am I going to do with my life? What am I here for? You know what I mean? It also puts you in a place where you're like, at least hopefully not hurting people anymore, you know? Because, you know, I know that people be breaking eggs, you know, when they're drinking. So hopefully you don't do that anymore. And then, yeah, you know, just reflecting. If you could kind of follow that path, and a few years go by and, you know, you look back on it and you're like, oh yeah, okay, I haven't had a drink in almost 7 years, and I've gotten all these friends, and I've traveled, and I've gotten jobs and better jobs. I've got a lot more money, you know. I've got this nice apartment with this like cool view on the water, and you really get to a place where it's like, I don't miss alcohol, you know what I mean? And maybe you get the clubbing out of your system in your late teen years, your early 20s. Hopefully you get that out of your system. But once you like stop drinking, you still have opportunities to do that stuff. You just do it with intention. Maybe like a friend of yours is DJing and you want to go support them, or like a band is playing and you want to go see them, but you don't like find yourself in the trap of just doing things to fill time and just staying in this lost place. Like, to stop drinking is to live a life of intention, and that's like a life that you can be proud of. You know what I mean? So that's it. That's my first video. Hopefully you guys got something out of it. Peace.